We are continuing on with time travel this week, and that means it's time for Doctor Who Sunday. Hello, and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me, Rachel, the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters.
Crown you Queen of the Woke!
Let's chat about it. This week I will be looking at the androids of Tara as voted by you, the subscriber. To vote on the current poll, please head on over to the post page after this video where you can find it and have your say. The Androids of Tara is the next installment from The Key to Time. It was written by David Fisher and it aired from the 25th of November to the 16th of December 1978. The Doctor wants a break from looking for the key to time segment, but Romana makes him go to where the next segment is, the planet Tara. The Doctor refuses to go. He doesn't want to. He wants to go fishing instead, so Romana goes. She finds the segment very, very easily indeed, but she ends up meeting Count Grendor after she was attacked, who shows an interest in the segment. Romana has twisted her ankle in the attack, so the Count takes her for so-called treatment. The Doctor, who was fishing, also gets captured. So everyone's getting captured in this. By the Prince's guard, the Doctor is asked to repair an android prince. The android is going to be used to create a diversion at the coronation because the Count wants the throne that the prince is next in line for. If the prince is coronated as king directly, then he most likely will be offed. This doesn't go according to plan. The doctors, the prince, and the guards all drink wine. Did I say the doctors? I meant the Doctor, the definite article. They all drank wine. However, it was laced and they conked out. They fell asleep. When they wake up, the prince was gone, but the android was left. So they take the android and they go ahead and they infiltrate the castle, and the android is crowned as king. Meanwhile, Romana finds out that there is a double of her. Well, not a double, but someone who looks like her, the Princess Strella. She is the princess to marry the prince. The Count intends on marrying her and claiming the throne, though, which would then mean making him king, even if that means using Romana as a decoy. Is the Doctor able to save Romana, restore order to Tara, and find the segment once again before the worst happens? Now, of course, he does. Now, with all the reviewing I have done this week, I am not expecting this one to be long. I'm trying to keep it concise. I've had one big week of reviewing this week. This one has a reasonable pace to it. I think sometimes with the Key to Time stories, the pacing, well, it can be a bit funny, can't it? I do like the pacing in this one. I have a little bit of a critique about it, but we'll get into that later. Yes, there is a fair bit of discourse to it, but I will say that it is the type of story that I was referring to the other day when I mentioned the pacing of The War Between the Land and the Sea. Have conversation, a bit of action, then more conversation and the whatnot, rather than talk, and, well, talk. This is what that story does, so I approve of that. I also noted that there seems to be, and I think I must have forgot this, quite a few stories that are seemingly historical based in The Key to Time, or at least stories that are set on other planets but appear to be somewhat historical, or the costumes, which I really like in this, have a historical base. Now, I like it. I do like that. And you know, if you've been here a long time, you know I like the history Doctor Who's as opposed to the sci-fi ones, and I still love the sci-fi ones. It's just I like the history because I can connect to it very well. I only have one major negative. Well, not major really, it's probably quite slight given what we've reviewed just recently. But in the context of Classic Who, I suppose it is a major one. That's the fact that the Doctor is, well, he's very blasé, isn't he, about finding the fourth segment. Now, I know it was a plot driver, so it was intentionally done. It was just, I don't know if it was uncanny or whatever it was for the Doctor to do that. But, you know, mind you, though, now that I say that and I think about it, there are quite a few moments in this particular series, The Key to Time, where the Doctor has been slightly out of character. He's quite jokey throughout all of this. I think this is probably the least jokiest we've seen him so far in The Key to Time. However, having said that, That was the only major thing that was out of character for the Doctor. Everything else that he does in this particular story was in character for him. It honestly, it puts today's Who to shame. For example, at the end of part 4, the Doctor knocks the crossbow out of, oh, what's his name? Farah's hand. Sorry, I forgot. Because the Count has taken Romana, and he obviously didn't want Romana to get hit with a stray arrow. That would have been very bad. Don't do it, people. Don't do it. That is very much something that the Doctor would do, which is quite something, because you are left wondering with this cliffhanger, how on earth is the Doctor going to save Romana? Of course, this leads to probably what I think is one of the better sword fights in Doctor Who. One of the things that the Doctor does in the classic era is it creates a lot of fights, but it struggles with time, right? Do you know what I mean? Okay, I think I do. Time, it was one of the biggest issues back then. They had a deadline to be finished filming by, and all of that. So the sword fight was, for the time, extremely well rehearsed. Sometimes when watching the show, you can tell where they perhaps lacked in rehearsals or perhaps lacked in filming time, because I think it was like 10 p.m. they had to be out of the studio by, and the lights would just go off. But I think here you can tell that they were rehearsed in comparison to other fights where the conviction is not as solid. There was very clear intentions behind this fight. So that's great. Also, the Doctor has a very valid reason to do so. I can't believe I just said that, but he does. He is not a weapon wielder naturally, but he, in this situation, is not given a lot of choice, but he does not cause harm or injury. In fact, the defeat of the Count was not something I expected, that's for sure, and I found it quite entertaining that he escapes via the water instead, and the Doctor returns his helmet to him. That's very kind of you, Doctor. Very kind. Speaking of the Doctor, I thought he was pretty careless of okay. Yeah, the Doctor, fourth Doctor, he was pretty careless with K9. He decided to leave a robot dog in a boat on water guarding an entrance. I laughed out loud when we discover at the end that K9 had floated off because he can't control the boat. He had no hands. And I just thought it was fun. Master! On the water. I just thought that was funny. But it was a tad irresponsible of leaving an electronic dog floating on water when it could have overturned at any moment. Anyway, that being said, the Doctor has, as usual, some fantastic smarts in this. He is able to infiltrate the castle on several occasions, one in order to save Romana and the other to get the android of the prince into the castle. The way Tom handles himself in this story with those smarts is wonderful. His temperament is probably at his nicest in this story, I think. I will say that this is definitely a story about betrayal and hierarchy politics. The idea that treason will be committed in order for the Count to become the king for us Brits, in reality, could be very much a real possibility indeed. It's a way of showing us the dangers behind it all without being pushy. A tyrant trying to claim the throne. It wouldn't be the first time that sort of thing has happened. This is also what I mean as well about integrating politics naturally. I've mentioned it plenty of times when covering Doctor Who on the channel, and it's been subject for discussion this week as well. Whilst it is something that we can relate to in this case, it isn't set on Earth. It's set on Tara, where they have electric swords and androids. So therefore, because of the sci-fi aspect, it becomes a little less real and personal, and more about the escapism first and keeping you on tenterhooks and focusing on the storytelling. And if you don't get the politics behind it, you don't get the hierarchy or the tyranny or the treason or anything like that, that's not, in this case, a massive issue. You've been entertained, and that is first and foremost the priority, which New Who quite often forgets these days. The cliffhangers I have already mentioned one, and I like the cliffhanger at the end of part one where the Doctor, the Prince, and the guards drink the wine and they pass out. All right, this would leave a viewer wondering what on earth is going on and if the Doctor would be taken and put in prison. However, that doesn't happen. The cliffhanger, though, for part two is probably the cliffhanger that got me the most. And I have the advantage of watching it immediately after, should I choose to do so. It was when the Doctor, who appears to be acting out of character, took the scepter and attacked Strella. Well, at this point, we're not actually sure if it is Strella or if it was Romana. And of course, it turns out to be the android. But the palpitations, oh my goodness, Doctor, please. I thought it was Romana when I first watched it that he was doing that to. I thought maybe she had been put in place of Strella instead. What did you think of that bit? Please do let me know in the comment section below. I'd be very interested to hear what you all thought about that bit. I really like the idea with the androids. I wish they used them a bit more in Modern Who. I really do. Yes, I don't like mannequins, all right? But for the most part, it is the actors performing, thank goodness. I like the idea of double Romana. It gave Mary Tam a bit more to do. Not that she is surplus to requirements in any way, shape, or form. She really isn't. She just needed a bit more to do because the character of Romana at this point wasn't being as fleshed out as much as she possibly could have been. Which, I suppose that's not a massive issue, as quite often the companion does not have much of a backstory or character development in Doctor Who. We don't really see a massive progression until we get to Ace. I know Jo Grant has progression and there are other characters that do, but Ace is really the first big progression that we get. Whilst I think it shouldn't be done too much today, because they do need to pull back on it, I always felt like the classic companions could do with a bit more of a push. But, you know, they have their role. Their role is there to be the eyes into the TARDIS and ask questions. And they serve their purpose for us, the viewer. I still like the fact, though, that Romana takes the initiative as expected of her. I like the idea of evil android Romana. It makes it quite dark. Do we need to be told what was going to happen? Yes and no. I don't think it made a massive impact being told what was going to happen. However, I think the impact would have been bigger if we had not known. Like I said, though, it really doesn't matter. But I think it would have been a bit more fun for the sort of, you know, impact and all of that to watch. Maybe think it is the real Romana trying to do something. The evil Romana is an excellent plot device, and she is obviously there so that she can effectively now get close to the king. Now, the Count is quite interesting. Speaking of the king, we're talking about the Count now. He is snide, he is manipulative, he is very well played by Peter Jeffrey. What is funny, though, is that I don't get a sense of he is inherently evil. I don't think he's played that way. He is cunning, and he is clever, but not clever enough for the Doctor. Is he the perfect enemy of the Doctor? No. But he is dangerous enough by being power hungry to make the Doctor want to stop him. The Doctor even twigs that the Count has set up a trap for him. And those kind of like under the skin type of characters, they can really get to you. They can really get into your mind sometimes a little bit more than when you go for the full-on scary monster type of character. These little traps and twists serve very well for the pacing of the plot. For example, the first major thing was Romana was attacked by a beast and the Count saves her. We are immediately trusting of him because he saves Romana, only for us to experience betrayal almost immediately. The androids are set up very well as well for their plot devices. Their purpose is to drive the plot forward, and it does so well. Could we have seen some more androids? Quite possibly. I think it could have afforded that. The Doctor expertly takes advantage of these androids, and I love that. It's not overly complicated or anything like that, which is absolutely fine. You can do that in Doctor Who. We just see them serve a purpose. I think one one thing I would have liked to have seen more of is the pushing of the marriage a bit more. I think it could have started a lot earlier, even though I am fine with the pacing overall. I think it could have been pushed to see the Count marrying Romana. It's not that big of a deal, it's just an idea. But, you could have gone there, you could have taken the risk, but it's okay. I also love K9. I love K9. Oh, he's one of my favourite companions. I know. He's a bit like Marmite for people. You either like him or you don't. But the zapping of the arms and getting stranded on the boat in the water is highly amusing to me. He also plays chess very well indeed. And I also like that he realised that the android Romana was not real. I also think that would have been entertaining as well, now I think about it, to have a battle with android Romana. That would have been so cool. Anyway, I also like the props of the electric swords. The effects for those were very good indeed. There were not many special effects used in this, so it was nice to have some special effects. These props were used a fair amount, but they were not overused. They really weren't. Overall, the pacing for this story is very good, and the story is in itself quite interesting and a nice segue into the next one. That's what I think. Let me know what you think. Check out some of the other content I have picked out for you. Thank you very much for watching. Chat about it, don't shout about it. Bye bye. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget you can join me on my other platforms as well. I've got YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, X, TikTok, Instagram, Locals, Substack, and I also have a Discord. Everything is linked below.